Punisher kills a lot of people. But to stop things from getting repetitive, he'll often indulge his creative side by inventing new and even more gruesome ways to bring an end to his enemies. The new Punisher series on Netflix starring Jon Bernthal promises plenty of violence and blood, but it's pretty unlikely you'll see him weaponize polar bears or shooting Wolverine in the goddamn crotch. So let's take a look at some of his most brutal kills of all time.
You know the difference between justice and punishment.
What? We have to start with the polar bears. Frank has been busy taking care of business, destroying one of New York's crime families. He's thrown a guy off the Empire State Building, pushed a dude in front of a train, and even forced one guy to jump out of a car moving at over 100 miles an hour. But that is just all built up to the polar bears. The Canucci crime family have eventually started fighting back and chase Frank into the New York Zoo, and in an unusual situation for Frank, he's outgunned with only a pistol on him, so he starts getting inventive. The first guy gets fed to a tank of piranhas and stripped to the bone. The second is crushed by a massive snake, but the final henchman, and Margnucci herself, managed to chase Frank into the polar bear enclosure. Being the Punisher, of course, he decides the best course of action is to punch a polar bear in the face and set it on the criminals. Now, while I'm counting this as a brutal kill because the henchman dies, Ma actually survives the encounter, although she's now missing all 4 limbs. Which takes me on to our next most brutal kill, kicking this now severely disabled old woman into a flaming building. She survives the encounter with the bears, but when the Punisher comes to burn down a mansion, she tries to fight back by biting his leg. Oh, it ends about as well as you'd expect, but don't feel bad for her, she really was a horrible human being. Now, not all of Frank's victims deserve their fates quite as much as Ma. For example, when he fought Wolverine. These two have had their scuffles over the years, but in this particular issue, Frank goes really to town on everyone's favorite X-Man. Now, things begin with Frank blowing off the Wolverine's face with a shotgun, and then he blows off his testicles. Then to conclude things with him being run over by a steamroller. Now, I should include the fact that between all these gruesome acts, he and Wolverine actually fight a gang of people with dwarfism of all things, who have been chopping off people's legs, and Frank pretty much obliterates them, and while he technically didn't kill Wolverine, who can, he has taken the lives of many other X-Men over the years. For example, in an alternate reality book, The Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe, it all begins with a new origin story for the Punisher where the X-Men and Avengers get in a fight with some aliens called the Brood. In the firefight, Frank's family dies, and while most of the superheroes shift the blame, it's eventually Cyclops who attempts to say sorry and gets his head blown clean off. He then goes on to kill everyone else, including nuking all of the X-Men and the villains on the moon, stabbing Daredevil, who was the only person trying to save him, and even shooting himself when there was no one left to go. Now we have the death of Vera Constantine. In one of the most disturbing storylines, the Punisher brings down a sex trafficking organization that abducts girls from the streets. I won't go into too much detail on the group as it's pretty horrifying, but it only adds to make the death of its leader all the more satisfying. When Frank confronts Vera, he tells her that he truly hates who she is as he repeatedly smashes her into the same bulletproof glass windows that ironically she had installed to protect her. He continues to smash her into the glass until the frame holding it in place is forced out of the skyscraper and falls towards the pavement below, Vera along with it. I'm sure you saw the Captain America Civil War movie, but if you've not read the comic version, it had quite a lot more death involved, much of it doled out by the Punisher himself. He wasn't that interested in fighting until the government got entangled in the scene and began to use superpowered criminals to enforce its Registration Act. He encountered a couple of these criminals chasing Spider-Man, beating him to within an inch of his life, and that's when the Punisher comes to the rescue and kills both the criminals before returning Spider-Man to Captain America and joining his resistance. At least until the eve of the final battle when the two villains attempted to join Cap and the Punisher just killed them on principle without missing a beat. Although he did get a hell of a beating at the hand of Rogers for his actions, This is the Punisher, you know, it's black and white, do or die, good guys and bad. What do you expect, Cap? The Max comics were all about doing the stuff you can't do in the regular Marvel books. As a result, you won't find these on Marvel Unlimited. They are specifically for adults, but if you made it this far, you're probably on board with some of the violence that goes against the most vile people on Earth. In the Max books, he performs some pretty gruesome acts, but the books finish with his fight with the Kingpin, in which Frank bites off the end of Wilson Fisk's tongue before smashing his head in with a claw hammer and unloading a few rounds into the back of his skull. These are just a few of the most gruesome acts the Punisher has performed, but which do you think is the worst? And do you think that the TV series is going to match it because everybody is hyped, especially with that Metallica 1 beat? I'm feeling good. John Bernthal is going to do the character justice more than anybody has ever seen. Or have I missed out on something that's so major that I should have put it in the video? Let me know in the comments below. As always, this is Dash saying, if you love geekdom, I want to talk to you about it. It's as simple as that, my friends.
Your Honor, can I say something?
You may.
You know those people, ones I put down, people I killed. I want you to know that I do it all again. This is a circus, all right? It's a charade, it's an act. It's bullshit about how crazy I am. I ain't crazy. I'm not crazy, okay? I know what I did. I know who I am. And I do not need your help. I'm smack dab in the middle of my right goddamn mind, and any scumbag, any lowlife, any maggot piece of shit that I put down, I did it because I liked it. Hell, I loved it. I'm sitting here, I'm just itching. I'm itching to do it again. And you think what? You think you're gonna send me to a nut house? Some doctor, they're gonna get me to stop from doing what I want to do? Well, that ain't happening. Not on my watch. You people can call me the Punisher, ain't that right? The big bad Punisher. Here I am. You want to hear me?
Remove the witness.
I am the Punisher. I'm right here. You want it? I'll give it to you. And anybody who came here today, hear me whine, hear me beg, need to kiss my ass. You hear me? I'm guilty. I plead, Judge. I'm guilty. You hear me? I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I'll kill every one of them. I'll kill every single.
If you're looking to support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing. I definitely appreciate it. And for true fans of the channel, I have this exclusive Dash Star t-shirt, which is available on Teespring, which is linked on screen and in the description. Thanks for watching, and may the force be with you always.